right, so before we start the lavender wings, I've got my paint set out here. We've got 4 colors this month. Oops, let me change my light. This is way too bright. All right, so we've got 4 colors. I've got Provence Sky. I've got Baby Blush, which on screen here looks white, but it does have just a little bit of pink to it. And then we've got Perfect Peri and Vivid Violet. And of course, if you are not a box subscriber, you can use just the next closest color. It's light blue, really, really light pink, lavender, and kind of a violet magenta color. The butterflies, of course, you can do with any color and they'll turn out absolutely beautiful. And I wanted to have a design to use on the butterfly, but of course you can do anything you want on yours. Here was my sample. If you don't have a butterfly stone to work on, you can still create this pattern. So I just traced the butterfly shape, and there is an outline available for you in the workshop hub that you can print out. It's a PDF, so it should print out the correct size. If you want to work larger or smaller, depending on your surface, you can enlarge it. But I just have this painted on a surface, and then I chose a different background color just to kind of have it pop up against that black. So I'm going to work on both of these at the same time. I'm going to use my standard tool set, and then I also have these little petal tools, and I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of using the tools. I know, so I have some here. Devon Dotting has really cool tool sets. So they have like spirals and petals and all kinds of stuff, and they have like teardrop shapes, and people are doing some really cool things with the stamp tools. I'm not a huge fan, but I thought I would give them a go. So if you've got these tools, there is a rough end and there should be a flat end. So just make sure you're using the flat end. Anything that we do with these petal tools this month can be done with dotting tools. So you don't have to have these to do what we're doing. But I thought we'd give them a try and see how they worked out. So all right, so I've got my surface. We're going to use our standard size tools, and then if you've got the petals, you can grab those. But the first thing that we're going to do is create the body, and it's just a set of dots that go down in size. The first 3 is an 8mm, 6mm, and then 4mm. So I'm going to grab my 8mm tool, and I'm going to use the Baby Blush, which is the lightest color, and then right down the center of the body, I'm going to do 8mm dot at the top. Then I'm going to go down to 6. You'll notice I'm using a different tool set today. These are from Happy Dotting Company, and I absolutely love them. They're kind of pricey. I want to say they're about $40. But I really like this tool set. I put my tool set in some alcohol to clean them, and then I got distracted and they all broke. So I've got to get myself another set of the standard tools. All right, so this one I messed up. But it's 8 and then a 6mm dot. And then a 4mm. I'm having some major issues making this a straight line today. Sometimes I struggle because I'm watching myself on camera instead of dotting right in front of my face. But the goal here is to do the body in a straight line. So we've got 8mm, 6mm, 4mm, and then I'm going to finish the body with my 3mm stylus, and I'm just going to walk the dots till I get to the end. So 1, 2, 3 dots here. I can fit 4 here, so it's 4 dots there. I will mention, so last month I was working a little fast. What I think I'm going to do on my lives is You can, I'm going to ask everybody to stay muted, but you can unmute yourself anytime you have a question or want to talk. You are absolutely encouraged to do that. But if you need me to slow down, if you raise your hand, I'll see that and then I'll know to slow down. So if you feel like I'm working too fast, that's how you can be like, hey lady, slow down. All right, now if you want to give yourself some grid lines, I didn't use a stencil for this. What I did on my butterfly was I just kind of sketched one line straight across, and that one kind of goes close to that dip in the butterfly. And then I just divided kind of the top and bottom in half here with a line at an angle, just to give me some visual where I'm going. If you want to mark that, you can. If you're good at visualizing while you're working, you do not have to draw on your piece. I'm going to grab my 1.5 millimeter stylus, and we're going to use the Vivid Violet. And I'm going to add 3 dots on each side of this center, not really centered, but the second dot, our 6 millimeter dot. So I'm going to add one in the middle. And then I'm going to center kind of where those lines are, one up and one down on each side. So center, one up, and one down. When you work with irregular shapes, you can either choose to follow a stencil and make a mandala exactly as you would, as if the shape wasn't there, or you can completely let the shape dictate what you're going to do. And for this, I just kind of followed the shape. So you can see better on this guy, but 3 on each side, and they're just equally spaced around that 6 millimeter dot. And that was 1.5 millimeters and Vivid Violet. I'm going to go up to 2.5 millimeters, and I'm going to add 2 dots of Provence Sky on each side. So in between, so we've got a set of 3, so in between each set. So there's 2 dots here, so one there, and then 2 dots here, so one right there. And these are offset in the centers. Two and a half millimeters Provence Sky, which is the light blue. Then I'm going to flip to my 3 millimeter side, and I'm going to use my Perfect Peri, which is this pretty purple color. And wherever I've got that Vivid Violet dot, I'm going to add a larger purple Peri dot. So 3 of those on each side, top, middle, and bottom. Right, we're going to start with the design on the wings. I'm going to grab a 3 millimeter tool, I'm going to use my 3mm stylus. If you have a 3mm rod, you can use that too. But we're going to use the Vivid Violet, and we're just going to add a row across the top on both sides. So it's dip and dot each time, and we're just lining that top row. Right across the top of the wing. All right, so next, if you've got a petal tool, we're going to use that. If you don't have a petal tool, I'll show you how to do it with your tool, with your normal dotting tool. But what we're going to do is take this petal tool and the Vivid Violet, and I'm just going to dip it in there. Now with these tools, I don't like to have a ton of paint because again, it's going to squish out. So I'll dip it in there and then just lightly tap a little bit off on my paper towel because I don't want a ton. And then you just want to give it a little kiss, kind of like you would do with your normal dotting tool. And you want the paint to smush. You don't really want to stamp too hard. Make sure you're using the flat side. And just try to put it the same way on both sides there. Now one is a little bit bigger than the other, so I'm going to adjust this one a little bit. If the paint's a little uneven, you just go in there with your stylus tool and fix that a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stylus and I'm going to use my large end, my 3mm end. I'm going to dip it in the paint and I'm going to pull it inward. And once you've got that shape there, just look at the both of them and you can kind of make, like I had one a little longer than the other. So I'm going to fix that a little bit. Just try to make them more even. They don't have to be perfect. If you don't have a petal tool, you would just get your 6mm tool and you would make 2 dots, one on each wing with your Vivid Violet. And then you would do the same thing and just kind of swoop that inward. And then you could fix the shape a little bit with your small stylus. There's no right or wrong way. We're pretty much just making a big swoop. At the end of those swoops, I just filled in the space over here with 2 3mm dots. I can already tell you that my swoop was thinner and lower today than it was on my sample. And that's fine. What I'll do when I'm finished is just add another row of those purple dots in there. No biggie. I'm going to continue with my 3mm tool, and I'm going to use the Perfect Peri. And I'm going to add a row of dots right underneath. So let me move this over here so we can, well, put that right there. Oh, you can't even see because of the reflection. Stinking reflection. There we go. So right underneath here, I've got a row of this Peri dots. So I'm just going to follow under the shape of my swoop there. Dip and dot each time. Now there's a little bit of a difference between this one and this one. I've got a little extra room up here, so I'm just going to add a dot or two to fill in that space. And whatever you do on one side, you do on the other. I don't have as much room on this one, so I don't need to do that. I'm going to go back to my petal tool. And we're going to use some more of this Perfect Peri. So this time I'm just going to add it closer. This one was a really long swoop. Down here we're going to do a smaller one. So I'm going to make a little stamp in there. And then use my stylus to pull that into shape. On this one here, I'm going to use my 6mm tool and make 2 dots. And then pull it into the swoop. Again, whichever way you prefer to do it is a-okay. I'm going to add a row of these Perfect Peri dots. I'm going to pull the row out of the center of that swoop over to the edge with 3mm dots. And you can see I've got room for another row, so I'm going to fill in that space. It's okay if our spacing is different. There are no rules. We're just filling in this butterfly pattern. I'm gonna go back to my violet and we're gonna add some swoops with our stylus. I'm gonna use the 2.5mm side. The first one I'm gonna do is going to pull the shape to the bottom of the upper wing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start out here and I'm gonna make a swoop inward. And then I'm gonna go back and kind of pull that swoop along the shape of the wing. And the beauty of this is you can start with that one swoop shape and then just keep coming back and pulling the paint. If you need to redip, just start a little farther back and then pull it until you can get a line across the bottom of that wing. So it was swoop, you can redip, and then pull, pull, pull. Swoop. I'm going to adjust this one just a little bit because I made it kind of tight. These are not equal. That's okay. We're going to recover from that. And depending on the amount of space that you have, pick a stylus. I would choose 1.5mm or 2.5mm. And then I'm just going to add some swoops in here to fill in this space. So use your judgment on how much space you have and just fill that with this swoop, swoop, swoop. While we're swooping with the Vivid Violet, I'm going to get my 2.5mm tool and I am going to start the shape of the bottom of the wing, or the bottom wing here. And so I am going to swoop upward and inward. Then we're going to do the petal tool again, or your 6mm tool. And I'm going to use the light blue, the Provence Sky. And then right kind of in line with the bottom of where that swoop started, that's where I want this petal to be. So I am going to stamp my petal on each side. And pull that inward. Or again, you can use the 6mm tool, whichever you prefer. And then use your stylus to pull it into shape. Underneath that blue, I'm going to grab some of that purple, that perfect Peri, and I'm going to add some swoops underneath, kind of following the shape of that swoop. So 1, 2, 1, 2. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to create another line where it gets progressively smaller. So if you're looking at the sample, it's Vivid Violet. We've got a 6, 4, 4, 3, 3. So 6, 4, 4, 3, 3. And if you made a line, like it falls for me kind of right on that line down at the bottom. So you want to kind of follow visually a line, or you can draw the line on there. But we've got a 6mm dot at the end. So you want to dip and dot, that's 6. And we've got 2 4s, so it's dip and dot, dip and dot, dip and dot, dip and dot. And you can either do 3 equally sized 3mm, or you can do a double dot. I'm going to do a double dot. So dip and dot, dot. Oops. Make that one a little bit bigger. Dip and dot, dot. I'm going to grab my petal tool again. I'm going to add a petal stamp at the bottom, but this time I'm not going to pull it into a swoop. So I'm just going to put that stamp down in there. Or you can use an 8mm tool and turn it into a teardrop shape. Then with whatever remaining space you have down here at the bottom, I just randomly put in some 4mm dots. I did not overthink the placement. I just want to kind of fill in some of that space. And then what I did was at the very bottom here, I added micro dots to fill in the space on the bottom wing only. So you can use the tip of a pencil, or you can use your smallest stylus tip. And I do probably 3 dots max with each dip. So I just start filling in space with these micro dots. And I'm only doing the bottom wing. I'm not going to do the top wing, although you totally could if you wanted to. It's your butterfly, your rules. I'm using the Provence Sky, the light blue, and I'm just going to fill in all this extra space with micro dotting. Well, that was a fail. I just stuck my big fat finger through my dots. Real live and in person, y'all. Ooh. You know, that'll be a fix for later. Be careful, don't do that. And then, so just depending on your pattern, I worked a little tighter on the first one, and so I don't have extra room. Up here at the top, I'm just going to fill that in with 3mm dots like I did around the top edge. So you can look at your butterfly and just kind of decide, depending on your spacing, what needs to be filled in and what you want to do. Of course, if you want a top dot, you can top dot. I did not add top dots. I felt like this was kind of busy since it was a shape. I just left it as is, but you could totally top dot and that would elevate it a little bit. Right, so that is the beginner's bliss for the lavender wings. Our inspiration was this little butterfly. And I also, oops, yikes, want to give just a little shout out to my friend and one of our members, Shauna, who creates these little butterflies and she dots on them and she does fantastic. So I'm excited to see what she does with this month. And that is the lesson. Make sure you share with us in the share space or the Facebook group or both. Can't wait to see how your butterflies turned out. And I will see you next time.